Welcome to Rugby AM here on Free Sports, and we're joined once again my partner in crime, Jamie Jones Buchanan, and a year older. But are you a year wiser, Jonesy?
I'm no experience goes wasted, Simo, and I'm getting older, but in the mind getting that bit wiser, mate. I'm a bit older.
We're joined by another fine Yorkshireman today, and that is Warrington's Tom Lynham. Tommy, big weekend. Obviously, before we start, Jonesy, we can't talk about what happened in Catalan because everyone's under investigation. Serious scenes off the field, loads of carrying on, which are a bit unsavoury. So before everyone's expecting us to talk to Tom about it, we're not allowed.
It's a bit like Fight Club, innit? Don't talk about Fight Club.
Don't talk. The first rule is don't talk about Fight Club. But Tom, apart from this weekend, how's the season been for you, mate?
Well, obviously we started off, we're doing well. We were competing for the top spot with St Helens, and it was very competitive till the last time we met. I think that could have reduced it to 4 points, and unfortunately we've not been able to overcome St Helens yet, who've obviously clearly been the best team this year. So got a big one Thursday. It was a tough trip to Catalan. It's always tough going out there, and we can bounce back. So hopefully get some form back in the league, get back to winning ways.
Talk to me about the Challenge Cup, because two of the best performances I've seen from any club was probably Warrington against Wigan 2018 in the Challenge Cup. Absolutely took them apart at your place. And then again in the Challenge Cup against Hull. Maybe not the most polished performance, but in the weather, stuck to a game plan that ultimately drawn down Hull FC and got you through to the final. So what is it about the Challenge Cup that Warrington seem to be able to get their heads around?
I think it's semi-finals in general. We're always really good in semi-finals, but not so much in finals. Yeah, the brand of rugby we played in the semi-final was a bit uncharacteristic for us because we like to throw it about, and you've got your flamboyant players like your Daz Clarks, your Blake Austins, but we played very well. The game plan was to bomb the left winger for Remo for Hull, pin them in the corner and make them come out, and we just did it countless times. And it was really effective. Obviously, it spilt a couple, and the ones they did catch were right on him. We got Toby King, and he, if you watch his kick chases, in any obviously kick chase is not the most exciting attribute, is it? No. But in any preview of a team, when we use this game plan of bombing the wing, they tell Toby King he's the best kick chaser. So it's a bit of a running joke now in the team, because obviously he's like, oh, it's kick chase, like, it's not very exciting, is it? But when you put a ball up, you just see him take off, and he's absolutely brilliant at steering it off the wing. As a winger, obviously, when the ball's up, you're stationary, it's moving all over, and you've got him coming at you at full pelt, and he times it to perfection. If you remember against Leeds, he got Ryan Hall with a couple.
He scored a few and all, hasn't he?
And in the final, actually, he was this far off from scoring as well, scoring then. So yeah, he's the best kick chaser in the world. So we use that game.
Give him a t-shirt for Christmas. He'll love that.
We use that tactic a lot. But yeah, we played that. I think that was our best performance of the season, complete performance. It wasn't pretty, but we made little errors coming out, complete our sets, pinned them in, and the yardage defence was unbelievable. Because they're big units out there, back five, and we nullified that effect really well.
You've got a couple of massive games, Saints tomorrow, Wigan, then the final. It couldn't actually be Wigan away, a harder 3 weeks.
August, you've Catalan out, then Saints, Wigan are on. They're really coming good out there now. They've timed it. They did this last year, didn't they? They win the last 13.
I said last week Wigan for me is going to win it.
Yeah.
All.
Outright. They're brilliant at it, aren't they? They're like it's a bit like Leeds used to do, isn't it? Back in there, they just time it to perfection, and they know how to win a final out there. They're in that October. That weather, the grand final is always different, in it, and they're the masters of it.
I've got to ask you, I want to take you back, because you didn't play any amateur rugby league. None.
No.
I said, what was your amateur club? Didn't have one. Yeah. You played football. How did you end up getting into rugby league?
It was actually a bit of a weird one. I was at York College, and I obviously couldn't drive at that time, so the bus came at 4 p.m. and the lessons finished at 12, so you had 4 hours to waste. And the rugby team played on a Wednesday at 12, so I just went down there, played rugby. It was actually a prop to start with, but I used to. It went well for me, and the coach was James Ratcliffe, and he said, "Oh, I'm the coach of York Knights. Come down." And then obviously just didn't have a clue what I was doing. They just put me on the wing, and I played there for a season, and then I had an injury, And then a guy called Danny Wilson came in, and he was a winger as well. And obviously at that level, it's pay as you play, in it. And I was playing, and I'm sure the only reason he did it was just to get me out of the way so he could play. He was in the community side of Hull FC. He said, I've got a young kid here. Like, John, I'll go in the academy. I think I went on a 6-week trial. Andy Lass was the coach, who's now the assistant. That went well, signed for them the next year. But then I went to university as well, so I never really intended on becoming a rugby player. Just kind of happened, and it worked out. By the time I'd played Super League, I'd played under 30 rugby league games in my life, and it just happened very fast. And so even when I went to Warrington and that, they were like, "Oh, pendulum." I was like, "Pendulum."
Got his clock out.
What's this? So they have to talk me through it all the time, and finally now
You're getting it.
Slightly. Slightly.
What?
So yeah, it happened very fast.
If you could be anything, what would you be?
Plastic surgeon.
Honestly?
Yeah, plastic surgeon. I think if
thought
you
about
could be
that,
the best plastic surgeon in the world, you're changing lives, aren't you? Obviously, you get to do some of the more glamorous stuff with some of the female generation, but then also like burns victims or any people with, you know, deformities and they're insecure, and you can fix them, and you're the best of the best. You're changing lives, aren't
Not
you?
doing any glamorous stuff with male generation as well.
Well, yeah, you would be, wouldn't you?
If you got paid enough, you'd do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. You'd do it anyway, wouldn't you?
I wanted to ask you, so it's really interesting you're talking about being a late developer there as a player. Like Mikolaj Leski is a great example of somebody who played the game quite late on and had a lot of work to do in terms of getting the fundamental basic skills of playing rugby league. What challenges did you face, particularly as a winger, when you're thinking about where you've got to be? You're talking about a pendulum there, covering full-back, being able to take high balls. Was that difficult, or did it come to you naturally as a sportsman?
I think it kind of could have been a blessing in disguise because you don't know,
yeah,
and you're raw. You kind of just, everything's off instinct. So I remember Radford had me in his video room, and he was like the pendulum system. So we were playing St Helens, and they used to do a 2-pass to John Wilkin, and he'd kick. And I was on the right wing, so obviously the right winger should come up to join the end of the line. Full-back covers the right wing, left winger comes back to the posts. And he was trying to explain to me, but that John Wilkin kicked it and I caught it, and I was like, yeah, but I've caught it. He's like, yeah, but that's not our system. And I was like, yeah, but I like catching. And he used to blow his mind. Like, he'd laugh about it now, but at the time I had him storming out of his own office because he just couldn't do it. So you kind of play off instinct, and it worked really well. And then, because even now when we'll speak about specific things, they can bamboozle you with you too much information, so you overthink it, which can jeopardise your performance. And I think as a young age, especially on the wing, it's difficult in the middle and stuff when you're working it, but you're kind of like, if it's got to the wing anyway, something's gone wrong further on. And so I think kind of was a blessing in disguise, and you never really, still don't know, I don't get too down about it. You know, life after rugby, like, obviously some players really struggle, you know, with abuse on social media platforms, and that it can really like affect the family life if they're not performing. And I think because it was all a bonus anyway, you're kind of just lucky to have the opportunity to play rugby, and you just enjoy your life away from it. And then when you get back to training, clock back in, finish games, clocks out, and it's worked well for me.
How was going to P&G for you in your life experiences? And have you experienced anything else in life that's come close, something you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, P&G was absolutely brilliant. The people were really friendly. They just couldn't get enough of it. They just loved rugby, and like, you'd finish training, obviously it was hot, humidity was through the roof, and you'd have your dripping wet training kit, and they'd be chasing the bus, and you'd get it out, and they're picking it up, and they'd just love it. It was a brilliant experience, you know, something that I'll never forget. Going back here, we've actually got a thing at Warrington now where we do like a story, like a life story, like once a month, and it's a team one day and a player will get up and they'll explain about their life. And it's pretty deep, really, you know, no one's really held back, and it's mind-blowing what different experiences people have had, and their childhood, and how different aspects and certain things that have happened have affected them. And obviously people have come from all corners of the world, and we're at Warrington, and it's quite mind-blowing how it is. Like Sitalecki, Akawala's 15 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
So his story was brilliant, and just everyone, and yeah, it's something that obviously the people from P&G, their lives compared to ours, and just how different. Like, we went into the schools, and it was just brilliant. I did games out on the field with them, and you gave them tops. The Warrington lads, before we went, we said, did a wrap around of all the players, any old training gear you've got, we'll take. So Jack Hughes, he took a suitcase full of that, and he gave that out, and just seeing people, you know, running around so happy with just an old training top, it was mind-blowing. Something, yeah, I'll learn a lot from as well.
You're a very relational being, aren't you, in terms of, you mentioned storytelling there. One of the big points about going to P&G was to get people out of the comfort zone, and you know, Toby King was one great example. He put him on stage and he lit up, didn't he? And there was a few more as well, but it just seemed natural to you. And I'll never forget not just at the schools, but there was a last training session before the final test in Port Moresby. Ball was going down, team run wasn't going well, and Paul Anderson just stopped and I thought he was going to go off here, and he just got you to tell a story. I was on the other side of the pitch filming it, but you just jumped to it like that. Everybody's rolling around the stitching, and it changed the course of the session. What do you think it is about Tom Lynham that enjoys stories and this being this relational being?
Well, that was the first time, obviously, when it all started, if you remember, because I had the Warrington Speedos on for the swim, so I had to get up and sing a song. And
what did you sing?
I sang My Way, Frank Sinatra.
Beautiful.
And then that kind of hit off, didn't it, when little people, because obviously when you go away like that, no one really knows anything. You know your people from your team, or if you've been at another team, but as a collective group, you know, you're quite unfamiliar with each other. So I don't know, that probably helped me, just being thrown straight in, sink or swim in it. So I just got there, sang my song, and then I had to do a joke one of the times, and then it became like a daily thing, didn't it, tell a joke, so I'd have to like learn a joke, practice them, and then perform them the next day. But it was good.
Jonesy, you must have been buzzing with the result this week for Leeds. Obviously, the
good.
sad thing about it is Tom Briscoe's injury, out 9 months ACL, but
tough.
First time this season really looked like the old Leeds of old.
Yeah, a lot of things came together, gelled. I think, you know, a few people have mentioned it. We scored a lot of points early on in the season, struggled defensively. It seems to have flipped round in Agar's tenure, but now we're starting to score some points as well. Richard's been really good, done a lot of work on and off the pitch in terms of bringing the team together, understanding our identity, who we are. Tommy been phenomenal all year, been really good for us. Tommy Briscoe scored a try with that ACL. You know, he injured himself and played on. Ultimately, obviously, it became the ending of him in that game, and will be a long-term injury. But lads are right behind him, and as always, there's some young lads who are prepped and ready to go.
Right, well, it's time to go now to see the madman, Wagataurus, who's been over and got into a wheelchair. Now, we did it a few years ago, didn't we? We jumped in wheelchairs, and it's so difficult. But this was like a stellar lineup. Adrian Morley, Wagga, loads of Andy Gregory, loads of legends of the game, decided to play against some soldiers for charity. Let's see how they get on.
Wagataurus is down at Morley Leisure Centre for the big game. It's the Flying Adonises RL wheelchair team against the British Army. I cannot wait for this. This is part of the Soldiers League charity. So Andy Gregory, AJA Events, right, has put this on with Soldiers League. We're going to go inside, right, we're going to get in them chairs and we're going to smash each other. That's what rugby league is about. We're going to have a chat with some of the players. There's some real legends coming on board. We've got Danny Schoolfort, we've got Lee Crooks who's just walked in, we've got Keith Senior over there having a nice little coffee. Pre-match, right, normally I'd shave everybody's hair going. I'd have an ice bath. I'd have had a lovely massage. But no, I went to York Races yesterday and got smashed all day. So not the best game prep, but I'm still ready. I've had my pre-workout. And it's time to go in and smash the British Army. Down at Morley Leisure Centre, I'm joined by Ryan, one of the trustees of Soldiers League. Talk to us about the charity.
Well, 2 years ago we were given charity status, but Soldiers League was formed over 12 years ago by a visionary of a player called Sean Fanning.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons why we want to make money is for our charities. And first and foremost, Soldiers League being a charity itself, we like to give to Royal British Legion, Combat Stress and Bless Me and over the years we've donated thousands of pounds.
Any tips in that chair today for Wagger Toss? Any tips?
Keep away from the army.
Keep away from the army. I'm going to try my best to keep in away from the army.
Yeah.
Tom, right, conversion time. You kick for not only Leeds Rhinos but also for your country, England, as well.
Yeah.
Rugby league. What got you involved?
It was my cousin at first, because I grew up in a rugby background, and my cousin, he couldn't play anymore because due to his eyesight, and then he went, I want to join this, so I thought, you know, I'll come round with you and do it. Ever since then, I've been hooked and I can't.
Do you love it?
Yeah, I love it. It's going by love back for rugby league again.
Well,
it's
let's
amazing.
talk about kicking though, because that surprised me as well, because I always thought, I wonder how they take conversions.
Yeah. So all you do is you line yourself up with the seam pointing to where you want it to go, and then you just you pull back, get a run up, and then you literally just go and like punt it off with your fist. Yeah.
Oh! Missed from in front and sticks. Let's have another go. Retake, I'm going to get one over. Yes! There it is. There she is. I'm joined by Josh, the head coach of Leeds Rhinos. Unbelievable. Right, I'm in a chair. I need to know some rules.
Right.
So I'm panicking now, I'm panicking.
Right, I assume you know the rules of rugby league.
Oh,
Fantastic.
some.
Very similar to wheelchair rugby league is rugby league.
Yeah.
All we've got is the tags, like tag rugby, what you played at school. You've got 2 tags on your shoulders.
Yeah.
When you've got the ball, I will literally be coming up to you to get that tag off you. Once
Yeah.
I've taken that, you've got to then tag back up before you play the ball.
Ah,
You've got
so
to get
you've
that
got
tag
to
off
tag-
there, put it on your shoulder,
Yeah.
and when you get a ball, you've got to tap the floor before you can pass.
Yeah.
It's great when we get some players coming down because I think they realise then how big it is.
Yeah.
You know, if I tried to play my body rugby league, I'd fall because I can't walk. But if they come and have to go in this chair, they can have a go. They can see what it's like
Yeah.
to be in my shoes, and they can see what it's like to go around in a wheelchair and play the sport that I love, which is rugby league.
Come on, boys! Let's go! Over me! Oh! Unbelievable, we can't do that! Go on, Scully! Get! Yeah! Come on! Oh! Morning, Dad! Yeah. Something wrong with this chuffing chair, they've done me. Go, Keith! Push me, Keith! Go, Keith! Go on, Keith! Yes, Keith! Ah, yes, shot!
What were your first experience in the chair, Orny? Because mine, I got smashed.
Yeah, well, my missus says I can't do 2 things at once, and it clearly has shown that out there. Yeah, trying to hold a rugby ball and actually...
You don't know what to do, though, do you? You put the ball on your lap, you get some pace up.
Yeah, I was like a one-legged duck just going round in circles. It was, yeah, it was an
tougher
experience.
than what it looks, though,
It's
isn't it?
so hard, like, but yeah, great experience, and hats off to him because God, it's so hard.
One around, Woody! Yes! Yeah, the ball!
I'm joined by Tony at AGA Events. Amazing event for the Soldiers League. We've done some great promo videos leading up to it, but it's amazing to meet these guys.
It is. I mean, me and Greg been doing some work with them for a while now. Greg's been involved with the British Army for a number of years, but since I got involved with these lads, the spirit of these lads, it's fantastic, and that's why we just want to try and raise funds so they can play a game that we all love.
How good is it to represent the Army and the Soldiers League today? It's brilliant. I take me out of cheer. You're amazing. You're heroes. Bringing all you guys together. It's like rugby. You love it, don't you? There's been some unbelievable banter.
Yeah, the banter's great, and you've got to remember, you know, a lot of these guys have got injuries from operational tours. They've all been away. They've all fought for the nation, and rugby was something we thought we'd all lost. And now it's been given back to us. You know, even at 40 years old, I'm thinking I can go out there.
Are you buzzing again?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? As you say, it's part of the banner. It's being part of a team, going out there, sweating it out, and smashing it up. It's brilliant.
Yeah! Woo! Adrian Morley, the toughest to ever play rugby league. What about wheelchair rugby league?
It's very, very tough, tougher, more physical than expected, but them boys, they just throw the wheelchairs in, and there's bigger hits than that than some rugby league games. It was brilliant. It's another great example of rugby league, how it includes, you know, people with disabilities, and I think it's fantastic what they're doing. And there's a World Cup in there coming up, so no, I think it's great.
Steve, what a player! You smashed me. You put some big shots on out there. Let's talk about these chairs.
Yeah.
I can just go buy a pair of boots, 20 quid. You can't get these for 20 quid, can you?
No, you can't. Even the adaptive chairs, you're talking, they're nearly £2,000. So Soldiers League as a charity, we're trying to raise as much money as we can to get more of these chairs, to get injured soldiers, not just physically but mentally, and people who need a bit of support in these chairs and playing this game. And you've played it yourself and see how enjoyable it is. And they absolutely love it. And like I say, all of them going away today with a smile on their faces. You'll look at them all laughing.
Buzzing.
That's what it's all about, coming together and doing it.
Jonesy Wagger there doing his bit, flipped out of his chair.
Yeah, it's balmy, isn't it?
It's being dominated.
It's tough. Have you ever tried it, Tom? The wheelchair rugby stuff. It's absolutely brilliant as a competitive game, but you don't realise how aggressive it can be as well when they're bashing. Have you never tried it?
No, I've seen highlights of it, and I always thought that was dangerous. That.
Yeah.
But no, I've never. Did Leeds win it?
I think they won it last year.
Yeah, I remember seeing the highlights
big game
of that.
against Halifax this weekend gone. But big, and obviously the Learning Disability Rugby League, PDRL as well, obviously some of that Warrington are heavily behind. It's good to see those other brands of rugby league coming through and growing exponentially as well, isn't it?
Yeah, really good. I went to school with a kid who plays for Leeds. He played Warrington at Anfield, and he was a Liverpool fan. Right. Growing up, and he scored a try at Anfield, so I've seen him there, and it was brilliant to see that. And just obviously Warrington went over to Australia and played South Sydney. Yes. And it's great what they're doing for the game.
It's time to move on to Amateur Strike Week, Bachelor's Amateur Strike Week. Your feature, Jones, that you decide. But recently you bumped into former winner Noah Stevens in Morocco, is that right?
Yeah, so we were in a restaurant. I was with a lady friend over there, and a family sat next to us, and we got talking, and Noah was in the academy at St Helens. He'd just signed. He was massive. He was 16, but he was bigger than me. Yeah, it was brilliant seeing like a young kid who was so switched on with, you know, sorting his academic side out as well as rugby league, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Obviously he's signed the 16s. I don't know if it was for next season he'll start, but I'm sure he'll do some work. From his highlight reel his dad was showing me, he looked special young talent.
Good luck, Noah Stevens. Right, let's go and see this week's contenders for Bachelor's Amateur Try of the Week. Jonesy, you've seen the efforts this week. Who have you decided is your winner?
I've shown up with Tom as well. There's some really strong efforts in there. They get better and better. And sometimes there's no to choose between them.
No.
Because there's some great individual performances. So if you haven't won it, it's not because it's not a great try. Some wonderful ones. I want to give a shout out to Lewis Spivey at Stanley Rangers under 12s. Nearly there. I'm not a big fan of one-handed put downs, but the skill that you used in the strength, outstanding. But my winner this week goes to Eliza Newlands of South Leeds Spartans under 8s. What a wonderful try she scored. She's going to be a little star of the future.
Right, that's it from part 1. It's also now your chance to win, and you could win 4 tickets to see this man at Wembley in the Challenge Cup final. All you've got to do is get onto rugbyam.co.uk and enter the competition on the homepage. Right now, we'll see you for more right here at Free Sports in part 2 after the break. Welcome back to Rugby M part 2 here on Free Sports with myself, Alex Simmons, Jamie Jones Buchanan and the man Tom Lynham. Got to be the best first half of Rugby M.
I could have gone on all day long. We did talk about the Catalan Warrington game, but it just hadn't made sure because it's just not good enough. That stuff was outstanding, my friend.
Right, we're going to start off, Tom, this half with some quick fire questions, but you've got to be honest, is that all right?
Yeah.
What's your most stupid purchase?
I don't know about stupid, but maybe bizarre, is I have a mannequin called Cynthia.
We've heard all about it. Tell us.
Who lives with me.
Explain it.
What it was, right, is it was when I was at Hull. It was my first house. I was about 20, and I lived there, and I just came across her on eBay. She was from America, and what it was I thought, of all the mannequins I've ever seen, she was the most beautiful mannequin. So I purchased her, and she took ages to come, and I was messaging the guy like, where's my mannequin? And eventually she rocked up, and the layout of the house is you came through the front door, there was a bathroom on your right, and then there was another door, and it was an open plan kitchen living area. And I used to put her like right opposite the door and dress her in an array of different outfits. She actually comes with 2 heads, so brown eyes and a blue-eyed head. And she got holes for earrings. You know, she's top spec mannequin.
So she look like a person?
Oh, she's beautiful.
Is she?
Absolutely
Good sort?
beautiful. Yeah. But when because she was opposite the door, so when it was a new build, I was getting deliveries coming of furniture and stuff, and the amount of like delivery people would say, "All right, love," and then they double check and look back. She always had a good reaction. But she's in there. I don't like my neighbours. They're quite rude and they're loud. And so I've positioned her so she's at the back window, looking into their garden. So I feel like, because obviously with the angle that they're at, I feel like they'll always feel like someone's watching them, and I hope, obviously, I doubt they'll think that guy's got a mannequin, but so that's where she is at the minute. She's got to do a job because they keep so loud.
Is it true that Liam Watts threw her out of a window and someone ran over in a car?
Yeah, it was a 3rd floor apartment we were having.
Well, that must have been traumatic.
Yeah, it was a very difficult time, obviously. She actually sustained some damage to her ears from the car. I think it was Sandow. He actually said he accidentally drove her. He didn't know she was there. So yeah, it was an evening I'd like to forget that. It's very sad. It actually upsets me talking about it.
Just swap head round, put another head on.
Yeah, just put the blue eyes on now.
I don't know if I dare ask you, Tommy, but what first car you ever bought, and how much did it cost?
My dad said to me and my sister when we grew up, said, if you don't smoke, I'll buy you a car at 17. And I honoured it, and it was a Renault Megane, you know, with the big bum. It had the advert, I see you baby, shaking ass, that was the advert, and I had that for a couple of years. Yeah, at that time it was the safest car on the road, and my dad's a bit out there. He's on the scale, on the spectrum.
I can't imagine.
And he was a police officer, and it was so important, you know, to have a safe car. He always used to say it's like a loaded gun is a car. You know, you can take a life with it. So he got me this big bubble car, 5-star safety rating.
3 people you can have dinner with, dead or alive. 3 people, anyone you want.
Number 1, Forrest Gump. It's my favourite film. I think it's
Did you
the
cry?
greatest ever film. That was the first film when I was a kid and watched it. It was 94. It was made, and that was a brilliant film. Really love that. So I'd go with him. Go with God, obviously. Say thank you for creating the earth, people. And then Michael Jackson. And I'd say, is it true, Michael? Is it true? What's happened? Just open up, let it go. So I'd know, because I've seen the documentaries and mixed opinions on them.
Mate, I don't know if it'll ask you to create a gig in your own mind, your ideal gig, or ask you what was the last gig you went to, and how would you rate it out of 10?
I'm not a big concert goer, but however, I do really like Lewis Capaldi, who's come about. I just think he's funny, epic. He's just so different, isn't he? So non-mainstream, and he's just revolutionising the music world with just saying you don't have to be this. Because obviously with social media and it's very fake. It's not reality, is it? And I think people are becoming delusional and brainwashed to thinking this is the life I need to live. And Lewis Capaldi, who just obviously absolutely rips himself, doesn't take anything seriously. Got this unbelievable voice, but he's not changed. Fame hasn't changed him, and I just think it's brilliant and very eye-opening, and you know, a real inspiration in his behaviour. He's genius.
I've got to ask you, mate, because you're one of the most emotionally switched-on people I've ever met. What do you want to do when it all finishes? Because it doesn't sound like you're too idolatrous and going to get trapped in the trappings of being a sportsman. What do you want to do next? Or what would you be doing if you weren't a rugby player?
I'd like to be a plastic surgeon. That's what I'd have if I'd chose a path, obviously.
Would you go? Could you still do that? Could you not study to do that, medical?
I don't think I could go back into education. I have severe concentration problems. Steve Price shouts at me on a regular basis. I have to sit right at the front of video, and then obviously being on the wing, I'm in trouble every day. Obviously, I've got a great relationship with him. Of all the coaches I've had, he gets me the most. He embraces my personalities, whereas some coaches might have, you know, not liked it as much. Yeah. So I've got a great working relationship with him. But afterwards, I thought about a few different ones. But I love criminals. I love prison programs, documentaries, and I read the book, you know, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I spoke to you about the show, and you read it, and he did loads of different jobs. They need to get a skill set to make him the successful man he is today, and I wouldn't mind, you know, just having a hand at a few different jobs, and prison officers is definitely one of them, because I think as well, if you can change lives, obviously I think a lot of the staff speak down to the prisoners, and then if you've been spoken down to as if you're an inferior member of society, then you're automatically going to get your back up, aren't you? Whereas if you get on their level and, you know, reason with them and reside with them, I feel like you'll get a lot better out of them, and if you can give them advice and a bit of help to change their path in life, you know, that's a very rewarding job to do, so it's something I definitely think to go into.
This year's a big year for Rugby League because the Great Britain Lions return. Let's go over now and see four of the guys give us their memories of that 2006 special Great Britain win.
Being a Lion is an outstanding feeling. It's hard to put into words, but I have to say the proudest moments of my life have revolved about the Great Britain Lions, and particularly for me on tour. When you put that jumper on, and well, I'm a small bloke, but you feel 10 feet tall, and so the pride and the heritage that comes with that jumper is the history of the game. So you wear that with respect, and you treat it with the reverence it deserves as well.
To be a JB Lion is the absolute pinnacle of any rugby league player's career, and probably the proudest moment of mine.
For me, there's no greater accolade than playing for Great Britain ever. I grew up watching Ellery Hanley, Martin Offiah, Jonathan Davis scoring that try in the corner, that amazing try that he scored. There's all just loads of memories that you have. For me, it's the pinnacle, it's the greatest. I think it's, just in my opinion, it's far greater and far better than playing for England. I think when you play for Great Britain, it represents more. It represents us, for me, as a nation.
To go there and play against Australia for Great Britain was just, it's probably the pinnacle of my career, really. So in 2006, the test match against Australia at the Sydney Football Stadium, the build-up to that game was a lot of attention on us. Phil Gould had said that we wouldn't win a game. Leon Price had controversially compared Bondi to Blackpool, which at the time didn't go down well. And for people who don't know that, Rugby League's on the back 5 pages of the paper out there, so I think the Sydney Morning Herald was Leon Price, full size, a picture of Blackpool with a donkey that looked half dead, flies around it, and then a picture of Bondi in its glory.
Obviously, when you play with a lot of Australian players in Super League, they always talk about how good Australia is, how the beach is, how the sun, and we got there and there were nobody there on this beach, and there were flies everywhere, and I just remember thinking, right, I'll try and get a little bit of one back here in the media, and I got asked a question and I just thought, well, I said, people talk about Bondi, and to be honest with you, Blackpool's far better. I'd rather be in Blackpool than Bondi.
I didn't see the big deal. We went for a walk on Bondi Beach, a few days, prior to the test, and there must have been 30 or 40 flies on my rucksack, so I'd rather have been in Blackpool as well. But they just made a meal of it, didn't they, really? They blew it out of all proportions, just a way of, I thought, putting pressure on Liam before the game. And then you speak about Phil Gold and obviously his comments are just, like I said earlier, they didn't really respect us at the time. So, it all just adds as fuel. All the things that were in the paper about Rob Burrow being this big, 5'3" and weighing, 12 stone, with a picture at the side of him of Willie Mason, who, probably 6'6" and 18 and a half stone, and basically said, this is what the Pommies are bringing, this is what we've got. So, we just use all that negative energy that they put out there in the press, and we just use that as fuel and had the belief within our camp.
It was like a siege mentality for us, because we went into that game off the back of Phil Gould's comments and off the back of all this criticism and scrutiny we got off the back of Leon Price innocently sticking up for where he's from. It probably galvanised us quite a bit, and we went into that game with the backs against the wall mentality, and I think when you're on tour, that's quite powerful.
Every day was something that was, they won't win a game, they look like they're a bunch of part-time workers, they look like they're amateurs. I think that was every day, it was a daily occurrence, and I think that's where the frustration built from.
A few people are gobbed off that we haven't got a chance, you've got no chance, you're going to get flogged, this, that and the other. But the team that we had, I'm thinking, mate, they've not seen the team, what's going on in British Super League if they're being that arrogant. When you look at the names involved, with a couple of people missing that could have been added to it, was an outstanding. I think it would beat most international teams now. I genuinely do. I think it was that good. Terry Newton and Adrian Morley and Stuart Phelan and Jamie Picker and Gareth Ellis and a young Sean O'Loughlin, and you got people on the bench like James Roby, for goodness sake.
Being the underdogs is standard practice. That's what we used to as being English, being from Great Britain, and that suited us down to the ground going into that game in Australia. In the tunnel pre-game, obviously the atmosphere is electric. We know what we're going up against. When the national anthem was sung, it's just a really, really proud moment for every player on the pitch and every member of staff that are involved in a Great Britain tour like that. We spoke before about what it means about it being the biggest test, playing Australia in Australia.
My focus before the game was cut out the anthem, cut out the tunnel, cut out everything pre-match, cut out the noise, cut out the fans, cut out the stadium. You're just focused, you're super focused on the job in front. And I remember just running down that tunnel and running onto the field and thinking, let's go, this is it. Massive hype before the game. You're with some of the best players in the world alongside you, playing against the best players in the world. It's the pinnacle of your career, it's time to rumble, let's go.
I came off the subs bench in that game, and it was difficult really to watch the opening exchanges. Obviously a lot happened in the game. I remember, we were playing really well.
There was a lot of pushing and shoving early in the game, and we were taking the game to them, and Willie Mason just hit Stuart. So basically stood up, Stuart thought about it, and by the time Stuart thought about it, Mason, and then JP runs in, and so it's all on, there's a scuffle, and from then on in it was a proper test match. It was a proper test match from second one, but the guys just didn't go away.
I played with Stuart Bradford, and he'd always, I think he'd always waited, Stu, if somebody throws one at him, he'll throw one back, no drama, and he's a big-handed lad. But he kind of cocked it ready to hit Willie Mason, and Willie just banged him. I looked at Willie Mason because I was right next to it, and I'm thinking, should I, shouldn't I? And then by the time I thought that in my head, and I thought, he's a little bit big. Peacock comes in and absolutely flattens him. They had them two go hammer and tongue, but JP absolutely flattened him and ended up. So I had a good view of it, which sat there with my popcorn watching.
We knew we had Australia rattled at that point. We knew that they'd gone off task. and that was a game changer for me. Not only that, I think Sean Long got hit late and their discipline was going and we were just playing on the front foot. And yeah, but on the bench, I was watching some of these bits happen and happened to come onto the field as all the aggro started, which is not probably my strong suit.
Well, I'd played test match football and you get away with a bit more than you normally get away with, but the game had been cleaned up considerably. So Mason's cheap shot on Longy was a shocker. He'd have got 10 games in the stand normally, but I don't even think we got a penalty. Oh, we probably got a penalty, but mate, he didn't miss Longy. He hit him off the ball with his elbow. And I'm in the stand and I think I'm sat next to John Sharp and says, I thought they cleaned that away from the game 10 years ago.
You're always going to target the half-back of any team, especially somebody as influential as Sean Long was, and he went on to have an unbelievable game in that game. But it's just, yeah, it's standard practice, but you know how Long is. There's not many half-backs as tough as Sean Long.
Really, I should have reacted to that, really. I should have done something about that. Because it's, you know, 6'5" guy on a half-back is, but nobody else saw it, really. But Longy did well. Longy were knocked out. To come back and put in a man-at-match performance after that was massive. Everybody that day stood up and were counted, but without Longy, I don't think we'll win the game.
I would have loved to watch it as a fan, and you know the incidents, like I said, with Willie Mason and Stuart Field and Sean Long, Lee Gilmore's try.
We keep going, and then Gilly came off the bench and broke the bank with a skimming try like Gilly can do and goes under the sticks.
Any one single moment of my whole career, that is by far the highlight. And especially when you think about the context of the game, that was a try that put us in the lead. I just got the ball and I was just kind of looking and sniffing to see if I could see a little chink in the Aussie line, which you don't get too often. And I just saw a little gap between, I think it was Sivan Asiva and Luke O'Donnell. And I just came off my left foot and it just opened up. Just one of those things where I kind of went through and I thought, oh, wow, I'm through here.
Because we've been getting this grief all week in the press. When Gilly scores, he goes under sticks, puts the ball down, and he goes up, and he's about to put his two fingers up, and then thinks the better of it because he realises what is going on, because he's going to give the crowd, the Aussies, the two fingers up. But if you watch him, he goes up like that, and then keeps them down and pumps his fist. But there's a photo of him like that, under sticks, scoring try. So that's what I remember of it. In the story after, I think it's brilliant how we were thinking about giving him the bird, and then I thought better of it.
Gaz Rayner finishes the game off I think a charge down off Longy. I think he was trying to kick the ball into the corner and Longy fielded it, went 30 metres down the field, and I'm outside, I look really, really calm. But inside, I'm going, go get over that line and get over that line and make sure you finish this game. And so a few things went our way, but we were deserved winners that night. And yeah, a lot of pundits had to eat their words.
To beat Australia and to beat them in Sydney, and to beat them when they had such a good team, it was incredible.
It's history. We knew history had been made. I know you don't go down to Australia or England or Great Britain and win very often. It's very, 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 very difficult to do. So I remember just going in front of all the Great Britain fans that were there with the Great Britain flags out, and we were just enjoying the moment and realising that we just created a little bit of history.
When the hooter went, it was just relief, really. Obviously, over the moon with the victory, we really had to get a win that weekend in order for us to stay in contention for an hopeful route to the final, which unfortunately didn't transpire. But as much as you're excited afterwards, sometimes it's just relief. We got the job done, and then onto the next stage.
So you have to celebrate wins, and I learned this early on in my Bradford career, sometimes too intense. You got to know when to celebrate. We hadn't done it for 20 odd years, 27 years was it? We hadn't won in series, something like that. Some crazy number was telling me for years we hadn't beaten Australia in Australia for a while, and we'd done it. We had a tough challenge. We had the toughest challenge in world sport. I described it as such, and so at times we let the purse strings off, because you've got to enjoy yourself. You're in another land, you're in another country, and you've got to experience that. Most people just sit on the sidelines, stay in their room. That's not touring. You've got to explore, meet people, make friends with people. There's an old expression, what goes on tour stays on tour, and I'm not going to break that rule.
Look, beating Australia in Australia is a huge achievement. To do that playing for Great Britain, the historical brand of the game was incredible. And we did celebrate.
No, we had a good drink, we had a good time, we had a good few beers, came home, now, you know, back then drinking culture was still part of the game in 2006. Nowadays it'd probably be different. It's a completely different professionalism. You know, it wasn't like I went on a 3-day bender. We had one day drink.
The senior management group, I think they call them now, people like Adrian Morley, Keith, JP. We have to fly out to New Zealand the day after. This is the nature of the challenge. So you've got to get on a plane. You don't want them to be shabby. So basically we cut the purse strings and said, you can go out into Sydney for a night out. We've got to be on a plane tomorrow. Make sure you rock up for rehab at 9 o'clock the next morning in the Manly Pacific pool. Boy, did I have a sleepless night that night, because you got to trust your players, and I trusted them implicitly, and everyone made the pool. I'm not too sure about what shape or size were in that pool session, but they all made it, and then we got off to New Zealand.
But to walk out of the Sydney Football Stadium is just, you can't really explain it. You know, when the game means that much to you and you've got that much involvement in the history of it and these iconic moments through the history, when you get the chance to do that, it's mind-blowing.
To be able to look back and say you played against the best players in the world, you've played alongside the best players in the world. At one point you were one of the best players in your position in the country. Just to represent your country where you were born is massive, and something that I really treasure now. Probably more so than when I was playing. At the time that you're playing, you for me it was like a tick list, right? I want to play for your club, I want to play for your country, I want to play for Great Britain, and you're just going along ticking them off at the time, so you don't really feel it and appreciate it as much as I do now.
There is no better accolade than playing for Great Britain. You know, we spoke about it a little bit earlier. It's the highest level of rugby league and possibly competing. You're playing against the best players in the world with all the best players in your competition and from your country, and that is the best of the best.
When you look at the roster that we had, Gareth Ellis went back to Australia later to play for Western and was their best player for 3 years. We're subsequently seeing how good our players are in the NRL, so I had no fears then at all. Jamie Peacock was the best forward on the planet. Adrian Morley was the best player for the Roosters for 4 or 5 years, and I'm thinking, Terry Newton, for goodness sake, one of the best hookers we ever produced, God rest his soul. Gareth Hock had one of his best games. It was just sensational. Everything you want Gareth Hock to be: offloading, hitting the line, smashing into people, belting people when they came his way. Blind man's thumb comes to mind. We had a definite chance, but were we enthused about what we could achieve? I suppose we had to carry the baggage. You know, all that baggage of, well, you can't beat the Australians and all that. But the belief in the team was huge. We don't have many franchise brands in rugby league, and I think the Lions is one of them. That iconic blue and red V is worth fighting for.
Jonesy, looking back there, it's special times. It gets you really in the mood for the series, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I'm excited for it, as I mentioned before, but not as excited as whatever time we've got left with Tom. He's got some more
facts. Tom Biden facts. Go then.
Right, well, this is a really good one because it gets a lot of people. So all the Warrington lads are correctly informed. The world's busiest airport.
Heathrow.
No.
Paris.
Amsterdam. Go on.
I reckon it's just per what?
Busiest and most
Planes.
travelling passengers each. The biggest airport is actually in Saudi Arabia, and it's 77,000 hectares. But
Dubai?
The busiest, no, you won't get it. Atlanta,
really?
In America, is the busiest airport, and no one ever gets that right. And the last one, you know, the car manufacturers Kia.
Yeah.
Do you know its origin, where it's built? Kia.
It's
you get a 7-year warranty or 100,000 miles, but where does it come? Where are Kias?
Is it Korea?
South Korea. Well done.
Nice. Mate, it's been one of my best shows ever. I've really enjoyed it.
You're outstanding, mate. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Will you come back?
Yeah.
Hey,
Part 2.
Part 2. Tom Lynham Part 2. We've got to do it.
You've got to come down on a Christmas special, I reckon.
Yeah.
Mate, that'd be amazing. We should get you on at Christmas. Would you come on Christmas and do the Christmas special?
Yeah,
I
love Christmas. We get Steve Price has brought in. We get 12 days off at Christmas, which obviously he abolished the festive friendly, which was the greatest decision of all time, and he gives us 12 days off.
Love it. Last thing to do is ask you to sign the desk, please. We'll see you next week. Big thanks to Tom Lynham and to the Warrington Wolves. Big thanks to Jamie Jones Buchanan. Next week, Barry McDermott talking all about his feud with Stuart Fielder. Now it's going to be reunited in a few weeks at the War of the Roses. If you want to get tickets now. All the details at rugbym.co.uk, tickets at tickets.therhinos.co.uk. Please come and support this man and Lee Gilmore in their testimonial game. Some epic players, including Jason Robinson and Martin Offiah, both putting the shirts back on as Yorkshire take on Lancashire Wednesday, the 28th of August at Henley Stadium, 7:30 p.m. kick-off. Get involved. But for now, good night and God bless.